let's talk about movies. Today I want to talk about The Odyssey. The film is written and directed by Christopher Nolan, and as per usual with Nolan films, it is a spectacle above all else. The film stars basically every big name in Hollywood right now. Okay, the film stars Matt Damon in the role of Odysseus, and although this is a story about him, the Odyssey encapsulates the idea of an epic journey through the separate storylines of other characters as well. It's a simple premise for those unfamiliar with the tale. Odysseus tries to return home after the Trojan War, and for various reasons, it takes him some 10 years to do so. Spoiler warning from here on out, because we'll be going into detail. The first thing to point out that I liked about The Odyssey was the sound mixing and the lighting. Nolan is a master at using effects to tell a story. He is a master at putting us in the scene with the characters. There are scenes like the one with the Cyclops, or the one with Circe, where the sound plays such a massive role that without it, the scene would certainly not feel as compelling. Like when she was doing her whispering spells along with the gruesome noises of choking and chewing, swallowing, spitting, gurgling, and so on, it made me feel genuinely sick, and I had to look away for fear of retching. But the scene was great because it emphasized the idea that the soldiers, especially after a war, are more likely to act like pigs. To act like pigs in general, as all their base urges are unleashed on the world. And when Circe was turning them back, I like that the chanting was returning to your disguises. The lighting, like I mentioned, was another thing that I quite liked on a grand scale. Is when they were at sea and Poseidon is out to get them, and so is Zeus because they killed the Cyclops and they did nonsense. And you get this really unsettling feast of flashing lights. I had to look away because it was bothering me. Like I would genuinely, if you have epilepsy, don't watch this movie, or at least look away when that scene is happening, because it's like constant flashing lights. It definitely will trigger something. Now, the story of his son and the suitors at home was interesting. It was evident that they were all cowards, but it did feel odd that Ithaca had no guards. No army seemed to be loyal to Telemachus, and that he had to take the abuse and the snickering of the suitors with kind of no recourse to their well-being until the very, very end. Even his journey to Menelaus, though I enjoyed seeing those scenes from the war and the kind of visceral nature of the Trojan horse, how they were like pissing and shitting on each other. That was good, great, even. It's something that you don't see in a lot of these early Hollywood movies, or even Troy, the 2004, I think, Troy. You don't see that sort of aspect of it, or that kind of explanation behind the Trojan horse. So I like that Nolan included this. But the actual journey to Menelaus, I just found it unnecessary. And at times it felt like the film was trying to just extend its runtime. Telemachus also did not really engage me as well due to the casting choice. Nothing wrong with Tom Holland, of course. He just feels incredibly out of place in this movie. He still kind of retains his more juvenile, his young adult atmosphere about him. And he's great in other roles, don't get me wrong, but roles in which he can be that. I quite loved John Leguizamo in the role of Eumaeus. I thought this was something different. I thought that he nailed it, and I'm really happy for him that he actually got this role. I think he could actually win some really big awards as a supporting character. I also love the kind of dichotomy between his character and that of Antinous. Am I saying that correctly? Antinous. Anyways, Robert Pattinson's character. It is clear that Eumaeus used to be a warrior, because he's training Telemachus through the other mentor guy, but he's actually sort of training him, like giving him advice and such. And it is very clear that Antinous, despite wearing the garb, he never was a warrior. And we find out more about this throughout the film. Pattinson, though, plays him brilliantly, portraying just the cowardice and the spinelessness to perfection. And I found it captivating in that it has a lesson there where a crippled warrior is the one that, despite being beaten and humiliated, keeps showing up, keeps showing his face, whereas Antinous always operates in the shadows and at the end hides behind a column for fear of getting killed. Matt Damon, as always, great to watch. It's difficult to find a film in which he isn't actually good. And I don't love him or anything. I'm actually not the biggest fan of him. Nor do I kind of look forward to his next projects. But when I do watch a film when he's in it, he doesn't disappoint. Now, this film needs to be watched attentively. You need to pay attention and understand what is flashback and what is present day, because the two intertwine, and there's a lot more flashback than present day. All of the scenes of Odysseus' journey are flashbacks, which is interesting. But outside of this, the film can only be viewed once, and that's really it. I think it has more rewatchability than Oppenheimer, but simultaneously, I think it is very similar thematically. Odysseus is dealing with a lot of grief. He came up with the idea for the Trojan horse, and throughout the film, there is this idea of Zeus's law, kind of like a Geneva Convention type thing before ancient Greece. And by using the Trojan horse, by tricking the Trojans with an act of peace, he violated that sacred law. This implies that he is cursed, and that's why he wasn't able to return home for so long. But I think this was more of a mental battle throughout. Even him eating the lotus flowers. Odysseus did not think himself deserving of returning home to his land, to his wife and his son. He exiled himself before the end of the movie, but had to return as he realized that his mental struggle was putting his family at risk. There was kind of a cyclical structure to the movie. They clearly set up the Chekhov's gun that is the bow in the early scenes of the movie, and through the cinematography they mirror the events at the end. Odysseus' face is only truly revealed when he strings the bow at the beginning of the film, and at the very end, as he is hidden as a beggar until his turn comes to string the bow, then he reveals himself again. I thought it spoke about the notion of identity and finding oneself, as Odysseus has to do through his journey. I know people have issues with the final scene, but from my understanding, it happens in the book, and I quite enjoyed watching this famed warrior taking on a room full of people. He's just taken out a bunch of bad guys. It's like a crazy Jason Statham movie, but actually well filmed and written, you know? And sometimes a film can just be that, you know? It just some awesome fantasy, flashy action. Nothing wrong with that. Besides, it worked because it was set up really well, in my opinion. Overall, I did think that The Odyssey was a brilliant film. I'd probably watch it again in like a year. I'm not in a rush, but that's alright. I feel like if you are a fan of ancient mythology, maybe you'll hate this movie, maybe not. You'll probably have more things to say about the actual original text than I do, or that I know, or that the casual viewer knows. But the issue that a lot of people don't get is that these are adaptations. The way that The Lord of the Rings is nothing like the books, other than the actual story itself. Neither should The Odyssey be expected to be like the original text, I think. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing and liking this video if you enjoy my content. Comment below and let's talk about The Odyssey. That's it from me. Until next time.